For 1937, Packard will present 4 lines of cars. The new Packard 6, the 120C, the Super 8, and the 12. The new 6 and the 120C are covered in another presentation. This is the story of the 8 and the 12. The 1937 Packard cars are, you will be glad to know, consistent in style and engineering. Their degree of luxury will quite naturally vary with the selling price. However, the major mechanical units are identical in design and function. We present then the Packard Senior cars for 1937. The 15th Series Packard 12 and the 15th Series Packard Super 8. The Packard 12 will have 11 body styles and 3 wheelbases. The 132-inch 5-passenger touring sedan. The 139-inch 5-passenger formal sedan, 5-passenger touring sedan, 5-passenger club sedan, 5-passenger coupe, 2 to 4-passenger convertible coupe, and the 5-passenger Victoria. The 144-inch 7-passenger touring limousine and the 5-passenger convertible sedan. The Super 8 is available in 11 body models on 3 wheelbases. The 5-passenger touring sedan on 127-inch wheelbase. The 5-passenger formal sedan, 5-passenger touring sedan, 5-passenger club sedan, 5-passenger coupe, 2 to 4-passenger coupe, and the 2 to 4-passenger convertible coupe, all on 134-inch wheelbase. And the 7-passenger touring sedan, 7-passenger touring limousine, 5-passenger Victoria, and 5-passenger convertible sedan on 139-inch wheelbase. On both the 12 and the Super 8, the radiator lines have been altered to slenderize somewhat the front view. The bumps in the front apron over the spring horns have been eliminated with the use of the Safety Flex front suspension, and the front apron now has a smooth flowing line that blends into the fender. The front bumper has been brought in closer to the radiator, giving a better balanced appearance. On both cars, the windshield wiper motor has been redesigned and increased in size to develop 40% more power. These new motors are capable of handling heavy wet snow, and the increased pressure on the blade ensures clean wiping. Rain gutters have been formed into the body over the doors on both the Packard 12 and Super 8. This new design is much improved in appearance and also carries the water off more efficiently. Large section, small diameter tires on both the senior cars improve the riding qualities 30%, and the smaller wheels improve the appearance. The tire sizes are, for the 12 825 by 16-inch 6-ply, and for the Super 8 750 by 16-inch 6-ply. Both cars now have a new design of steel wheel, which greatly improves the ride. They also have large, graceful, 10-inch hubcovers marked to designate the model. The model designation is further carried out by the emblems on the trunk doors. On the entire 1937 Packard line, the rear trunks have a new one-piece lid, which makes them more accessible. The ceiling, too, has been greatly improved with a sponge rubber gasket. A new one-lift prop holds the lid open, yet is quickly and easily released for closing. Single spare tires are now carried horizontally in the rear compartment, taking up a minimum of space. The taillights are mounted on the trunk, and the gasoline filler neck comes out through the fender. This mounting, with the new gas tank, eliminates air locking and bubbling back when the tank is being filled. The tanks on the 1937 cars will take the gasoline as fast as any service station pump can supply it. The doors are hinged at the front, a construction which strengthens the center body pillar and stiffens the entire body. This is accomplished with the concealed upper door hinge, an exclusive Packard development, which allows the wide bottom opening and ease of entrance that has featured our previous construction. The concealed hinge also improves the appearance by not protruding from the smooth flowing line of the body. All doors on all Packard cars are sealed all the way around the edge with sponge rubber specially molded to fit the contacting surface. This seal effectively keeps out drafts and dust, reduces wind noise caused by the opening around the doors. The resistance of the sponge rubber seal has permitted using less tension on the door dovetails, thus making the doors easier to close, giving them a better sound when closing, and greatly reducing the rattles. The interior of the Packard 12 has been improved with a new tufted pillow upholstering. On the Super 8, a new upholstery treatment is used similar to the 1936 model. On the 12, the rear compartment has deep pile, rubber-backed carpets. Armrests on the front doors are standard equipment on the entire line. The rear seat arm rests on the 12 now have a built-in ash receiver. The garnish molding has been improved in appearance, with a built-in cigar lighter and ash receiver. In the front compartment of the 12 and Super 8, the steering wheel has been redesigned, and the throttle and light switch levers both have been removed and put on the instrument panel. The dimmer switch is on the floor where it is easily operated by the left foot. The accelerator has been changed to a chrome-plated treadle type to give greater ease of control at low speed. All cars have been built to receive the Packard hot water heater and defroster as accessories. The front seat is completely adjustable. It moves on an inclined rail so designed that the seat not only moves forward but the rear of the cushion is raised 3/4 of an inch, and the back is straightened to give the short driver greater visibility as well as bringing the pedals closer. With the introduction of the first 120, Packard introduced its own design of independent front wheel suspension. Safety Flex. So satisfactory has this been in the hands of owners that it is now a feature of the entire line. In principle of design, it is unchanged. Heavier members to support the heavier cars being the only difference. The greatest change is on the 12. To compensate for the additional weight in front, the torsional ride stabilizer is provided in front as well as rear. The steering spindle is of the full Elliott type and is carried on 2 oilite and 1 ball thrust bearing. The Super 8 has a rear stabilizer only, and reverse Elliott steering knuckles in oilite bearings. The steering cross tubes are of the same design as those previously used. The forged steel steering lever is a bell crank carried on ball bearings and connected by a longitudinal drag link to the steering gear. The steering gear is the proved Packard worm and double-tooth roller design with the ratio increased to 20.5:1. The double-tooth roller is carried on a double row of ball bearings, and the steering wheel rim, on the 12, is weighted to provide an additional inertia damper to road shock. Safety Flex front suspension and neutral-poised engine mountings require a change in design for maximum rigidity. A typical Packard X-member frame is used. Box members in the front section to resist torsion on the front side rails, the I-beam X-member to resist frame rack and twist, and the box construction for strength over the rear spring make the frame 400% more rigid than the 14th series cars. Hydraulic two-way shock absorbers are used both front and rear on these new cars. The rear absorbers have an improved rubber bushing on the upper end of the link which will not squeak and requires no lubrication. The front shock absorbers are connected to the steering spindle through a rubber bushing. Improved calibration of shock absorbers together with Safety Flex and the ride stabilizer make manual adjustment of the shock absorbers for ride control unnecessary. The rear springs on the Packard 12 and Super 8 are of silico-manganese steel with tapered leaves. The springs have the lubricant sealed in with metal covers. Improved riding, steering, and braking are achieved through the use of the Berlin-type spring eye, which transmits all forces on a straight line through the bracket and spring, and eliminates any tendency for the spring to buckle. The front end of the spring is rubber bushed. The rear shackle is a combination of rubber bushing and a threaded shackle bolt. Pads are provided on the rear of the springs as a seat for the jack when changing tires. Many chassis points which heretofore were metal and required lubrication are now mounted in rubber. Because of this, the automatic chassis lubrication system has been discontinued. Pressure gun fittings are provided at points requiring lubrication, and the same 2,000-mile lubrication schedule now applies to all cars in the line. Chassis lubrication will be handled on a contract basis in the same manner as has been so successful with the 120. The same design of gasoline tank will be used on all models. The capacity of the Super 8 is 25 gallons and the 12, 30 gallons. Shallow flat tanks increase both trunk space and road clearance. Corrugations across the top and bottom ensure stiffness and elimination of all noise. In the top, the corrugations provide a natural air vent to prevent air lock and bubbling back when filling. In the bottom, they form a deep drain to catch water and sediment and carry it to a deep sump at the left where it may be drained. This year, the servo-sealed hydraulic braking system has been included on the senior line cars. The elimination of the anti-shimmy trunnion and the inherent equalization of the hydraulic system has positively corrected all tendency to pull either right or left. The ratio of braking between front and rear has been carefully worked out so that upon sudden application all four tires will approach the sliding point at the same time. The brake master cylinder is connected to a lever on the brake pedal at such an angle that the initial pedal movement is very soft, gradually hardening as more braking is required. On the 12 only, a vacuum assister is provided to offset the 1,000 pounds additional car weight. The reaction type of linkage between the assister and brake pedal gives a soft but natural feel to the control. The assister mechanism has been improved and simplified in construction. Two self-energizing brake shoes are used with little change other than the substitution of the hydraulic cylinder for the brake operating cam. The brake drums on the 12 have been increased 8.5% in area. The mechanical parking brake design is the same for the entire line of cars, and the necessary changes have been made to adapt the rear shoes to this hookup. Now we come to the engines. The Packard 8-cylinder, 3 3/16 by 5-inch engine, with improvements is used in the 1937 Super 8. It develops 135 horsepower. The 175 horsepower engine of the 14th Series 12 is continued, with refinements for improved economy and performance. A new and improved alloy of cast iron used in the cylinder blocks greatly reduces cylinder wear. The aluminum cylinder heads are heat-treated. The crankshaft bearings have been increased in hardness, greatly reducing wear. The water pump on the Super 8 has been redesigned. The overall length of the unit has been increased and the bearings moved farther apart to better resist the downward pull of the single V-belt. Pistons on both cars are fitted with one plain compression ring, one perfect circle number 70 compression ring, one perfect circle number 85 oil ring, and one perfect circle X90 oil control ring. The thickness of the X90 is much less than in corresponding oil rings, and the resulting lack of wall pressure is made up for by the multiple spring expander. The result is greater flexibility, which gives much better wall contact, which in turn increases oil economy, cylinder, and ring life. The oil bath type of air cleaner has been made standard equipment on the Super 8. This type air cleaner is more efficient as a cleaner than the type previously used and will go for a considerably longer time before requiring cleaning. However, if it is to function and protect the engine from dust and dirt, it must be cleaned and re-oiled at regular intervals, the frequency of which should be determined by the conditions in the territory in which the car is operated. As a further safeguard to keep dirt and grit out of the engine, the crankcase oil filler and ventilator inlet has been fitted with an air cleaner. Oil vapor from the crankcase will keep the copper wool filter moist, and it is only necessary to wash it in gasoline to clean it. This should be done at every oil change. The Delco Remy distributor used on the Super 8 is of the vacuum automatic type, using both engine vacuum and a centrifugal governor to control the spark advance. Maximum performance at part load requires more spark advance than at full load, and the centrifugal advance is calibrated to provide the advance required for full load operation. The manifold vacuum is higher at part load than at full load, and is used to provide the additional spark advance for part load operation. The centrifugal governor is attached through a linkage to the advance mechanism, advancing the spark as the speed of the engine increases. The vacuum advance mechanism is actuated by the engine manifold vacuum, which varies with the speed and load on the engine, adding to the total spark advance during part throttle operation but being inoperative during full load operation. The combination of the two controls gives maximum performance as well as fuel economy. The fuel selector has a total range of 24 degrees, which is adjusted manually to overcome pinging due to the use of fuel of low octane rating. The distributor has an 8-lobe cam and single breaker arm, therefore, no synchronization is required. The centrifugal advance starts at 600 engine RPM, at which speed the advance should be not more than 1 1/2 degrees. The vacuum advance starts at a vacuum of 6 to 8 inches of mercury and reaches a maximum of 11 degrees at a vacuum of 16 inches of mercury. This maximum advance is obtained between 30 and 50 miles per hour depending on engine speed and load. The generators on both the Super 8 and 12 are shunt wound, fan ventilated units. The one on the 12 is rated at 28 to 30 amperes cold at a speed of 1450 rpm, that on the Super 8 at 25 amperes cold at 1650 rpm. The generators are hinge mounted and driven by V-belts, which also drive the fan and water pump. The fan on the armature shaft at the rear of the drive pulley provides a forced ventilation through the armature and field coils to prevent overheating during heavy load. The armatures are carried on ball bearings at either end. Because the generators are shunt wound machines, no third brush regulation is supplied, and it is necessary that both voltage and current be regulated externally. The vibrator type of regulator gives full voltage and current regulation of the generator and provides a more nearly constant output at all speeds, the amount of which is dependent on battery and electrical load requirements, not on car speed. The cutout relay is an automatic switch to prevent current from running back through the generator when the charging voltage is less than the battery voltage. On the 12, this unit has a double set of contact points to carry the heavier current supplied by the larger generator. The starting motors are of the conventional passenger car type using the Bendix type of drive, and are controlled by a magnetic switch on the starting motor frame which is operated by a remote control push button on the instrument board. The 12 starter motor develops 19 foot-pounds stall torque and the Super 8, 16 foot-pounds, which ensures good cranking performance on each engine. The headlights are controlled by two switches. A push-pull type switch on the instrument panel has 4 positions: off, parking and tail lights, city driving, and country driving. The country passing beam is obtained by depressing the foot switch on the floorboard to the left of the clutch pedal. Lighted indicators on the instrument panel show the lighting combination in use. The main lighting circuit is protected by a circuit breaker mounted on top of the switch. Cigar lighter, clock, all body wiring, dome lights, door lights, etc. are protected by the auxiliary fuse mounted on the circuit breaker. The tail and stop lights have individual fuses in addition to the circuit breaker so that a short circuit in these lights would not affect the headlights. And so we close our book on the story of the new Packard 12 and Super 8 for 1937. You have seen that in keeping with Packard's long-established practice, all 4 lines, including the 120C and the new Packard 6, are characteristically Packard. The beauty of the famous Packard Lifeline has been enhanced by detail modification and refinement, but radical style changes have been carefully avoided. These new cars you will find are truly Packards, not only from the standpoint of style, but in design, engineering, quality of manufacturing and materials, performance, and long life.